Hello, hello, and welcome to the Yvonne Nobles Show. We are honored today to have as guest the incomparable Courtney Pointer Lewis out of California. How are you today?
I am good. Thank you so much, Yvonne. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Fantastic. We are honored to have you here. And what we do is we celebrate all the trailblazers out there, inspiring those around them, entrepreneurs that are establishing links in the community and helping their families stay strong. So we are very honored to have you here today.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Now, by way of introduction, Courtney is a
Yes.
business expansion consultant and coach. She actually is a next level business scaling coach, and she helps businesses and brands just scale to their highest heights. Passionate family lover, believer, and entrepreneur. So we love that you've mentioned you have a very distinguished reputation and specialty and scaling high achievers to these new levels in business, and that you really combine business and alignment strategies. That's fantastic.
Yes.
How long have you been doing that now?
Oh, it's been a long time. I started out doing a contracting, working within, bigger brands, and I would say less really intensely with small businesses. But
Okay.
I found that it felt so much like I was doing a job and not necessarily, doing something on my own, in my own capacity, and being able to expand myself. In fact, at one time, I feel like I saw my name on someone's actual payroll sheet as employee, and I was like, gotta go. It was a trigger. It was such a trigger. It was like, wait.
Wonderful. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So it's been, I'd say, over 10 years now.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
And I got a little bit ahead of myself. I usually start with an icebreaker.
Oh,
So
nice.
Can you tell us something that is unknown or little known about you, a hidden gem?
Oh, let's see. What is unknown about? I'm so out there. I feel like I say everything. Oh my goodness. What is not known about me? Well, I guess I can say one thing is I am a vegan, and I really push towards practicing raw veganism, but I don't love it.
Oh no.
I think that is something people don't know, because I'm a big person when it comes to health.
Okay.
But I push myself to be healthy because I understand the benefits. It's not necessarily because I really was so passionate about doing it. So that's something that in the very near future, I will probably be hiring a consultant for. So if you guys are out there, hit me up.
So wait a minute, raw veganism for how long now?
Yes. Oh my goodness. I've been doing high raw for a few years on and off,
Okay.
but at this point I am vegan and I just incorporate raw foods within it. So that's what I am now. And that's been, I would say, maybe about 5 years, now, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay, that's stupendous. I know before we started rolling, we were discussing how I've got family out there in Cali, and anytime I need a health check-in, I'm calling them up. Like,
listen,
okay.
You already know everybody out here in California, everybody's on this health tip of some sort.
Hey,
so being successful and being on it, it doesn't matter. We're all striving.
There you go. There you go. And one goes in hand with the other, your energy levels, and whether that's physical, mental, emotional, the way you eat, it all plays in. So I get it.
It's so huge.
To be like y'all, that's all.
Listen, we're in this together. Okay.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So now we're going to take it back to the beginning.
Yes.
When were you first bitten by the entrepreneurial bug? I know you said you saw your name on that sheet, but when did you know?
Oh, when did I know?
You were going to be working for you?
I think me knowing it and kind of like when it started calling my name, two different things.
Okay.
I know that what I didn't understand was how entrepreneurial I was as a child. I was one of those people with the lemonade stands, etc. And I come from a family that is, and what's funny is I grew up on a block where I wasn't allowed to go outside of my yard because we had a crack house next door. It was really bad, Yvonne. Crack house next door, all kind of stuff going on the block. And my grandparents were like, we're not doing that. You're not stepping foot outside this. So I used to put my lemonade stand and I used to iron clothes for my grandparents in our yard.
Wow.
So I'm like, listen, I got a little setup. They would come and they would go ahead and act like they were doing. It was a whole exchange, and I didn't know that until I got pictures of it later. I actually posted that on my Facebook page. But I feel like later on, when I really knew that I wanted to settle into being an entrepreneur, when I think about the remembrance of that, I'd probably say in high school.
Okay.
I was living with my mother as a teenager, and I saw my mom, and she was very entrepreneurial. And I said, that's me. That's what I've been dreaming my whole life.
Love it.
I didn't realize that that was my dream because I grew up in the arts, actually. I was a professional dancer for a while.
Okay.
So I thought that's what I really wanted, but what I really was aiming for was the freedom and to own something of my own. So I'd probably say my teenage years.
Okay. Love it. What genre of dance were you pursuing?
I did hip hop and I did fusion.
Okay. Love
Yeah.
it. Love it. So what did mom have to say about that when you're like, listen, I'm following in your path. I'm going to be entrepreneurial too.
Listen, my mom, she is the entrepreneur of entrepreneurs. Like, she is just so heavy hitting on all things entrepreneur. I think that her biggest thing was she's one of those people who didn't get a chance to really be a mom at first because she really had to look out for herself. She went through a lot of challenges, and those challenges kind of took away some of the time for her to really be a mother. So the one thing that my mom instilled in me is just from seeing her was, I remember she used to have these $5,000 checks that she used to just get from random people that she was working with.
Okay.
And she used to be like, this is nothing. I was like, this is nothing? Wow. At that time, $5,000 was like 20 million for me.
Yeah.
And she was just like, yeah, this is nothing. And I'm like, this is nothing. And one thing she just showed me is that to think bigger, like expand your mind outside the box, like understand where you came from and understand the needs of people. Like, don't be crazy out in the streets, but also understand and know that you're not confined to the situations and the limitations that other people might have wanted to put on you.
Phenomenal.
So that's kind of what she did.
That is fantastic. You know, it's what you're saying. It kind of makes me think, be a tree, know your roots, but reach high, because the
Yvonne,
only
that's
limitations
good.
are what we put on ourselves. So
That's so good.
I got to take a moment too to give shouts out to moms all around the world, because they just do what they do, not realizing how these lessons are living in us. Next generation comes through because of the things that mom tells us when we're little.
Yeah, it's very true.
Those lessons she instilled in you,
it was
paying off. That is great.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. So tell us, as you went through this entrepreneurial journey, what were some of the roadblocks that you encountered? Any speed bumps that you had to overcome on this road to success?
Oh, yes, Yvonne. Oh, as you probably know, there's so many we're still encountering. Just today, about an hour ago, I encountered another one.
Yeah.
No, man, I think that's so funny. I'm going to answer your question. I think it's so funny the way, you know, and not everyone, I don't want to say everyone because that's just not true, but I see so often people speak about roadblocks and these speed bumps like they're not still going on. And they're like, oh, yeah, you know, I used to go through that. That was a while back. And, you know, this. And I'm like, but what about the ones going on today? Because I find so many people that always tell me and compare themselves to different things that I go through, maybe different things that, you know, some of the people out here, you know, like famous people and these people go through. And I'm like, listen, while you're driving by these people's house in your tour bus, they're going through some of the same stuff as you, if not worse. You just don't know. Like, Absolutely. Be grateful. Because your position, you know what I'm saying, is it might not be as bad as you think it is. But I feel like when it comes to speed bumps, I'd probably say one of the biggest things that really, that probably really affected me in my life the most might have been, I think, perfectionism and identity. Which is why I'm so heavy on identity in the programs that I teach and different things like that, because, you know, perfectionist wise, I feel like what happened to me was I felt like I didn't have room for mistakes because I was so bent on time. I was like, listen, I don't have time to mess up. I don't have the time to do things wrong, so-called. I mean, I don't have the time for it's almost to where I didn't even realize that I was telling the people around me, you can't mess up either, because when you mess up, it affects me, you know? So the patience was lacking. You know, one thing that has helped me in my, you know, in my faith walk is understanding that I have grace and that God will make up for the things that I'm not necessarily so perfect in, because, you know, I don't have to be now. I don't have to be perfect. Like, it's okay. Things will still work out. And even having that belief and that mindset that it's all going to wind up working out in my favor because I'm doing the best that I can. That was a big one. And that's still one that I continuously overcome and preach so heavy today, because I feel like that's what a lot of us, especially women, go through too. Because we're like set here, we just keep powering through.
It's in our DNA.
We're some warriors, man. We're like, no, I'm still going. Putting the baby on our back through the snow. It's like, no. Yes, uphill. And we're just like, it's not going to happen. And we're going to do everything for everybody at the same time. Like, everybody's going to get this help and everybody's going to. And it's like, no, that's not realistic. You still have a physical body here, even though your mind has expanded, your spirit has expanded, all of these things have expanded. You have to remember you still have a shell that can only do so much.
Yes.
And I had to expand my mind and my patience to that. So that was, one huge thing. And I think that was probably the biggest, to be honest. And I still expand in that.
That's beautiful. You tackled so much. I love how you brought up time, because time is a two-sided coin. On the one hand, it's the one resource that once it's gone, you don't get it back. So I relate to what you're saying, that I can't waste my time. But conversely, if you spend an obsessive amount of time thinking that way, you are right. Wasted it anyway.
You did.
I love the fact that you knew it's something you tackled before and you keep going through. We limit ourselves when we say, I got that. I'm good.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Because like you said, you spent a lot of time coaching on that. So almost pay it forward, carry the torch.
That's how I feel.
And for me, the thing that I tend to say, it's like, we're all on this elevator ride, right?
Oh, that's good.
And what's going to happen is you're going to start here, but I was there.
Yes.
You reach my level. The hope is that I've continued growing and I've made it to another level.
Preach it, Yvonne.
But what happens is, as you get through that floor, every ceiling has a dense glass ceiling. And the higher you go, the denser the glass.
It does.
So what you said about, driving along, looking at the celebrity homes and thinking it's not made.
Yes.
You don't want them ceilings.
No, you don't. You better you better be like, this ceiling is beautiful. You got to force yourself sometimes through the tears, through the pain, through it doesn't just because something doesn't feel like it's good doesn't mean you can't speak that it's good. Just because the feeling is there doesn't mean, because I know those feel like, Yvonne, one thing about me, I am a super real person.
Lovely.
Like I'm not out here faking the funk. Like, I've got everything all together, because then I'd be lying for the whole world, because none of us do.
No.
And it's like, we just got to face where we're at head on and keep, like how you said, keep going uphill if you choose, because some people choose to stop, and I'm not judging them either.
That's okay.
Everybody's at their spot. And I respect that. And I love that. And we need to cheer each other on in our spots.
Yes. Yes. It's like this massive marathon we're all running. And sometimes you take a break and you're a bystander, but you don't want to be the person who's distracted and you don't care. The more that you're in there cheering for the next person, the more you position yourself to succeed on your next
here. That's what I'm talking about.
I love what you're saying. I love it.
Thank you.
And when you reference the blood and the tears, I always point out too, there is no such thing as an overnight success.
You better preach,
you see me smiling, you see me happy.
Yes.
You see the blood, sweat, and tears for years.
Come on now. I saw some guy the other day, he said it took me 17 years to be an overnight success. It's like, I love that.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's because really, especially with social media now, it seems, I'm not going to bash it. It's got to.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
There's a lot of beautiful stories that get told because we get to see these lives. Yeah. But most people only put out the shiny, sparkly part.
That's a whole fact.
What about those 17 years he was talking about?
It's so big.
It's
so big. And it's so big. I understand that, I understand when people say there's a level of vulnerability I don't want to share. I get that. But I feel like, and this is just from my standpoint and how I feel about myself, I feel like I have a responsibility to share that. And it's a responsibility to me because I'm not on, you know how they say influencers?
Yeah.
I'm on social media to influence for real. Like, I consider myself an influencer because I am going to tell you the real deal about what's happened on my journey so it can influence you to keep going and influence you to understand that you don't have to be perfect today and that you can take it step by step. And like you said, be a bystander for a minute if you need to, because that's going to push you forward. So
Yes.
I take it as a responsibility to influence positively and influence in a way where someone out there doesn't commit suicide one day.
Amen.
So that's how I see it. So I feel like for me, there's a responsibility, and I'll be doing it even more now. And I teach that you have, you know, a responsibility to share, especially if you're a coach or consultant.
Absolutely.
Like, you can't fake the funk when you're us. Like, if you step into this and you're new, you can't fake being a great coach. You can't fake knowing what you're talking about. This is one of those professions where people can read you because you're putting yourself out in front as the person who is leading.
Open
And
book.
you feel and you see the fruits of what you've manifested. So it's like, okay, to tell me, you're going to have to tell me the truth, because these things that you're teaching me and this person that you're portraying, it's not leveling up with, you know, what you're saying I can be and live in. So yeah, I feel like social media is a responsibility, especially for coaches and consultants, to be able to impact people with their personal life. That's just me though.
No, it's powerful. And I feel like we got to start a movement because
We
the
do.
message isn't getting out. And
Yeah.
this is a time to be profound with what we do. But, you know, to understand that with that responsibility, there's an obligation, like you said, to be honest, to be real. Yeah, because in the end, it can save a life.
It can, and it saves ours, Yvonne. Like, every time I'm open and I'm honest about something that happens with me, I go back and I gain more gratitude.
Yes.
And it grounds me, because sometimes, you know, you see, like, you can wind up, you know, you make a lot of money. Like, I've had months where I've had to purposefully celebrate because the amount of money was once so big to me in my life. And now these things become so normal now. When somebody tells you, I know you've experienced it so many times, when people say, oh, you changed my life, you know, when you see these testimonies of people's businesses making, you know, these amounts where they can now replace their job, or they get some type of internal healing that they've been trying to get for 15, 20 years. And you're like, oh, that's great. It's like, no, this is not, oh, that's great. This is like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, and I have to purposefully do that, because I can get caught up in just the like, oh, good. I'm glad it's working. It's like, no, that you need to do more than that, Courtney. And I instill that in the other people I'm around. I'm like, no, you need to like, wow, like how you would do at your football game. That's that same thing. That's that same energy we need right now.
Yes, bring it. And just, you know, I love how you're describing the lean in. You know, it's almost as if we've been just brainwashed into thinking, keep it together, have a really mature, you know, be refined. But, you know, like you said, this is such energetic work that before we people are going to read. So it's,
I love those words, energetic work.
You know, what are people reading from you? And it's a reality check. I'm glad that you're bringing up some valid points. Super curious though, because as you mentioned, there are times that we need to take a breather and be on the side. What when you feel like your energy reserves are running low, what do you do to reset? What helps
completely
you
cut
stand
off?
back up?
One thing is completely cut off.
Love that.
I'm talking about phone gone.
Love it.
Quiet room, maybe out here on the beach. Like, I'm serious, Yvonne, because I have these two sides of me. I have a very firecracker side of me, but I also have an extremely mellow side of me. And as a person who in my life, I have struggled with so many highs and lows, I still continue to search myself. And I get help from so many other different consultants and people like that. The great thing about making a lot of money in life is the health that it can bring you. You know, money is nothing if you don't know how to use it properly. And I have used mine to, number one, bring more health into myself through, you know, spiritual, you know, consultants that I have, et cetera, and not just money stuff. And that's why I say alignment as well, when I teach, because if you don't have that, you have nothing. If you're running out here just looking for dollars and things like that, your life is going to be miserable. I know from experience. I've had a lot and lost it all, and then built it again from a better place. The first time I ever made I say this all the time, $12,000 in my life, like in a week or a few days, I cried because I was so miserable, because I didn't know that it was going to be that much work and feel that crappy. And it's like, people would be like, you didn't celebrate that? I'm like, no, because it wasn't just, I didn't. Because it wasn't just about the money. I felt empty inside. Like, that was a lot for me at that time. For a lot of people, that's not a lot. For me at that moment, I was like, oh my God. And it was a weird feeling. But I stop everything. I take a moment to search myself within. I sit very quietly. I pray. I listen, because I feel like sometimes people, they feel like they have to talk a lot.
Yeah.
And
that's a very telltale sign.
I listen more at that time, and I look for triggers. I'm like, okay, I'm moody. I'm like, I'm having these anxiety. I'm getting anxiety. I'm like, okay, I am, thinking thoughts that don't line up with what I know my higher self is. I need to detach and I need to search myself and find out, like, how I got here. What happened? What's going on? Let me get back to my higher self. Because if I'm operating in my business and in my life out of not the higher version of myself, then everybody else is getting that too. And that's another responsibility for me. I'm not only responsible to my clients, because whoever I am, it's going to flow into them.
Yes.
So whatever's going on with me, it flows into everyone else that I'm working with naturally, because it just comes out of you. Yeah. Some people I know, they yell and they argue a lot. They do the same thing on their coaching sessions. They go, and it's like, it's you, that's you, okay. But it's like, know that whatever you're accepting is gonna flow down. So then their clients yell at them. So it's like, we're gonna get whatever we're giving. And that's the same thing in our household. So everybody always talks about, client this, client that. But what's going on with your husband? What's going on with your kids? What's going on with your grandparents? Are you really doing this? And because that's how you do one thing is how you do everything. So what's flowing and all that. And I try to look at all those things, which can be tiring sometimes, because that's that piece of perfectionism stuff that can start to come in. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. But that's where that peace and just like, I'm still, and I'm like, you know what, God, it's okay. I'm doing good. I'm doing well. Right now, I might not be physically looking as great as I need to look. I might not be saying the things I need to say, but I know that your grace got me. I know you've got me. And I'm going to go reach out to somebody that can help me get from here to there. I feel like us consultants and coaches need to start using each other more. Because I know if I see someone who can teach me something, I'm hiring them. I need you. Yep, I'm hiring you too.
And it really positions us to be a part of the solution. Because if you're going out there telling someone, you need my services, but you haven't had the experience of having someone guide you.
Listen now. That makes absolutely no sense.
It's very limiting, but it's like you don't know what you don't know.
No, of course not. We have to come to a revelation of that.
Yeah. And, the domino effect that you were describing, how it's not just work, everything. I'm going to have to speak about the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Back a few weeks to the incident. And how it was so clear that there was a disconnect somewhere. Like, as soon as it hit my phone, I'm like, this is all that everyone's going to be talking about this week.
Well, we knew
my
that.
heart goes out because there's something deeper. There's always something deeper.
Always.
And so the message is, make sure that you're confronting that, because if you don't, it's going to grow and it's going to show up when you least expect it.
Oh yeah. And it's going to confront you. It's going to confront you real strong.
Yeah.
And I'm not the type of person that likes I don't like those type of surprises.
No. And, I like how
no one's perfect.
You've got those two sides where, sometimes you're a firecracker, sometimes you're more reserved. I've been defined as like an extroverted introvert.
Wow.
I'm really fine. I'm okay being by myself with a book.
I feel like that's me now that you said that.
But then you're like, if you put me in a crowd, okay, I can light up. I'm good. But I'm really okay by myself.
Me too.
So I love how you're pointing out it calls for balance. and assessing that it's okay to be both. But it also calls for us to have more control and know when to be which.
Oh, that's so good. And that's so true.
Yeah.
I feel like
and
that's where the identity part that I was talking about earlier, I
yes.
didn't really touch on it. I feel like that's where that's coming for me. Because really getting into understanding myself and breaking apart the pieces of me, things that, you know, why I do what I do, why I wear the hair I wear, why I wear the lipstick I wear, why sometimes I don't. Like every single part of me has led me to the place of accepting who I am more. Beautiful. And it's allowed me to find a better balance, because now no one can really tell me who I am. I tell them. And if I want to be here, I know why I'm here. And if I want to be mellowed up, I know why I'm there. And I feel like if I would not have started on that journey in my life, it brought me a lot of joy that I did not have before. And it helped to shape my business in a way where I didn't have to wear that jacket because I felt like that was the jacket that would make everybody take me seriously. Or I didn't have to not wear my white hair because I feel like what coach has white hair that's in the business field. I didn't have to conform to what my limited beliefs thought other people were thinking about me, because some of it's true because it's been said, but it didn't matter anymore because I accepted me. And when we accept ourselves, other people automatically are attracted to us, the real us. And I always tell people, when you're faking who you are, no one's attracted to you. They're attracted to the avatar that you created. And I much rather understand that not everybody is going to like me and go for the people who love me the most.
Love it. Love it. I'm going to drop a movie reference in here. You're straight up on that Inception level. You know, the moment that you weren't being real, there was a problem. There was something going on, and everybody turned and attacked. But as long as you were cool and you had it together, it's all right. But that phrase that you use, limiting belief. Nothing wrong with beliefs. We're all entitled to beliefs and opinions, but when it limits you from reaching your full potential, you got to fix that.
You do.
You got to root that out.
Got to be fixed. And you got to be real about it too. You can't be like, oh no, I don't have those beliefs. I am not that person. It's like, yeah, you kind of are. And you need to get that together. And you shouldn't be ashamed of it. The fact that you're saying that means you have. Exactly. You need to get that together if you want to grow.
But I love too how you're describing, especially as consultants and coaches, we have to do the work.
We do.
And that's the thing that some don't see, is that when you run from the work, then your work is limited. You know, and it's hard. I'm not saying that it's an easy thing.
Oh no.
But the benefits are so worth it.
So big. And I agree with you 100%. And then the people that you're serving, they get limitations too, because you can only teach as far as you are.
Got you. So very, very curious, Courtney. What would you say are your top 3 sources of inspiration?
Top 3 sources of inspiration. My grandparents. That's one. Extreme love for family. That's how they are. That really grounds me a lot. I'd say my husband is probably number 2. Even if my husband wasn't my husband, if we were just friends like we were for years, like he would still be a huge inspiration. He's a person who just pushes to like maximum capacity. And I get inspired by people like that. Like the people who people call psycho. I'm like, yes. Something about it just drives me. And I would say, lastly, believe it or not, this is going to sound so spiritual, but I would have to probably say something like the Bible characters, like the Solomons and Jesus and different people like that. I just felt like seeing all of the hurdles, whether people believe it or not, it's just a story in itself. Seeing the hurdles that had to be overcome, but the mission still being moved towards. I feel like it's so much strength in seeing people move into a mission, even when everything is hurting so bad. I mean, I remember one time I saw, in the Bible that it was talking about how Jesus was crying blood because he was so tortured about the mission. I'm like, I can't even, like, if I really think about that in a real term, and I'm crying blood, because I've cried some really hard tears in my
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
to where my eyes, they were hurt. I felt like I probably was crying it, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the extreme internal pain that you have to be going through to physically cry blood is like, I can't even fathom that. And then you still get up and go pursue your
do
mission.
it anyway. Wow.
And with Solomon, having all of this knowledge and understanding, and then still having to live life through knowing that some of the things that you're doing are going to cause these hardships and heartaches, but you're still on the mission anyway. Man, it's just so big. I've seen that in my life too, because the more I know, the more sometimes I have to stop the hurt. Because I'm like, dang, so that means this, and this. And I'm like, ooh, that's a hard truth. I'm like, well, dadgum, I'm just supposed to be okay with that. Like, and it's like, yeah, you are, because you have to set your sights on, the greatness that's going to come from that. But it's so hard. It's so hard sometimes. And we have to work ourselves through that. And that's why we all need each other's support.
You're so right. My husband and I, we have a circle of friends, and occasionally we'll play this game that I came up with. It's based on the board game Would You Rather, where you have these two extreme scenarios.
I love those. Yeah.
But what we do is we put it in a Bible setting. So it does become, would you rather this or that? And so what I always point out is there is no wrong answer. No. There's never a wrong answer, but it forces people to get into the circumstance and really take on what's happening. And then you have to be reminded that was life for them. They didn't know what the outcome was. We know because
crazy.
So when you look at what you're saying about Solomon, he didn't know how it turned out exactly, but he knew what he had to do. It changes the whole perspective. So
everything.
It's wonderful. You're making some dropping gems.
I love that game. That you said how you guys do it in Dubai. That's so cool.
So very, very curious. You've done a lot and you still have road ahead, miles to go. Which accomplishment are you the most proud of? What brings you the most joy?
Oh, what brings me the most joy? I would probably say that I'm just still going, to be very honest with you. When I'm still going, and I'm still going in a way that is credible. I'm not a scammer. I want to say it sounds so ridiculous.
No.
But once you've reached like that place, when you go through hardships at a different level, like I know you've experienced this in your life, when you go through hardships at a different level, sometimes it can make you want to be lazy on certain things. Like you can be like, do I really have to make this program better than what I already did? I mean, I know, people need a little bit more. This is the dark truths of coaching and consulting that people don't talk about. It really is. Nobody talks about this. It's here now. They're gonna hear it today. Like people don't talk about the stopping of expansion. Once something's been working, we're like, I'm just gonna let that kind of like sit there for a second because it's working. But you keep hearing people say, times are changing, I need this, and we're like, yeah, I could make that program better, or I could make this better, but it's working, so I'm just gonna chill and leave it there, right? I feel like for me, if this is just me, when I see something is not working now, I always have a compassion and like a drive to try to figure out how to make it work better for the people that I'm serving in their circumstance.
Beautiful.
And sometimes things can stop working so much to where it's no longer a service to the people that you serve. And they're no longer benefiting like they need to. And once you become lazy in giving people what they need, what happens now is you start selling a lie. So you're saying this thing is going to benefit you in this way, but they don't get the benefit because you did not restructure it to fit their life today. This might be for their life back in the past, or if you just created it, you might not even be caring about the benefit and the mission, and that's even worse. But sometimes people don't realize that. They're like, what? I'm just teaching people how to do this thing. And it's like, that's great. You're teaching people how to do this thing, but what's the real truth about how this is going to impact their life? And did you give them everything you possibly could for it to benefit them? Like, did you really take the time to consider the difficulties they might go through, the different things like, yeah, this is just even teaching people how to play chess. Like, did you really take the time to think about your emotional things that happen to you? Do you have some solutions in there, some tips for that? I feel like for me, you know, I could have stopped. I stopped in my life in the past before when I was a child, I almost committed suicide. And I didn't understand what I was even doing because I was in so much pain. I overdosed on pills. And I lived through that. And, you know, by the grace of God. And I told God, I was like, what in the world was that? And he was like, you were just trying to eliminate your pain. You weren't necessarily trying to not be here. But in my life, I made it a commitment not to stop and to be around people who supported me not stopping, because that's not my best. So I'm like, okay, now as I don't stop, I also have to get better. Yes. Don't just keep moving, keep growing, keep elevating. And I want to do that in my services forever, no matter what it is. And I want to do that in my life for myself first, for my mission, you know, that I feel like God has me on, and then also for my family, and then for the rest of the world.
Love it. That is, wow. So beautiful, so profound. And, you know, like in your share, just the fact that we can't get stuck in the moment, you know, that element of to keep going. And I personally didn't realize how prevalent that can be in the coaching arena until one of my clients said to me, the way that you give. And I was like, what do you mean?
What are you talking about?
Like, because there's coaches out here who give
of course
so much, and they want to hold you over to the next program, and then they give you a little bit more, but it's all designed to just keep you in this like
exactly.
What? I understand wanting people to continue on a journey.
Yeah, I get it.
But I need to keep you at 110%, or else I haven't delivered what I was supposed to do. So I love how you describe that.
And we can't get pushed to the next level. We can't get pushed to the next, because you know what that forces us to do when we give it all? It makes us have to go learn more. Because we're like, crap, I gave everything. So now I got to go to a whole other level so I can give them like the next level version of me. Beautiful. But we get really comfortable and we get really safe. And that's fine for, you know, for people who are purposefully choosing it. That's fine, because they're like, this is the extent of where I am right now. That's fine. But for people who are just like, nah, I'm just going to keep profiting off of this because yeah, you know, reaching the next level is great, but I'm just going to charge them more. And just no, it's an ethics thing. It becomes non-ethical after a certain amount of time.
Absolutely. Well, you're just preaching fast. So
listen,
put on warning.
Okay. It's exposed.
Tell us now, what are you working on? What new projects of yours should we be on the watch for? What you got happening?
Yeah, well, listen, right now, one thing that I'm getting ready to do, I'm definitely, I have a lot of tours that are coming up for people that have asked me to come out. So I'll be doing a lot more of that, especially in the, I've been getting a lot of mindset communities reaching out, a lot of spiritual communities reaching out. So I'll be doing more of that. But really at this moment, I'm really expanding my program.
Beautiful.
A lot into getting a little bit deeper too into spirituality with some of the people that I'm working with. A lot of people come to me to explore even deeper in that. So I'm adding it because that's part of the reason why I feel like I've been so successful and made the amount of money that I've made, because of all the other areas. So I'm like, that needs to be explored deeper. And I want to be able to have something for people who cannot truly afford my services.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm expanding out now. And that also goes along with the speaking. I feel like I'll be able to give a lot more to some of the people who can't necessarily afford me.
Impressive. When you come from a place of love, it all falls in place.
You're right. It does.
That's amazing. So if our listeners want to get in touch with you, I'm going to, in the write-up, list out your links on social.
Oh, sure.
Do you have preferred methods for those that are just listening in? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, you can reach out to me on Facebook and Instagram, Courtney J. Lewis, especially on Facebook. Go on there. People like blow up my Facebook messages. Lord Jesus, it's crazy. And in there. They tell long stories, and I'm all for it. So go in there, send me a message. I'm very accessible in the way of, I will make time when I need to. I have certain times, literally, I just have prayer calls with some of my clients at certain times. Like we have days where it's just that, because life gets real. And especially when you're doing things for the right reasons, especially when you're aiming for amounts of money that make real changes on the earth. It's something when a woman like us aims for something real big, for big dollar amounts, because we're going to put it into places that really need it. We are going to change lives. We are going to shake things up. We're going to turn things upside down. So it is powerful. So yeah, definitely reach out to me on Facebook, reach out to me on Instagram, and just slide in the DMs and the PMs.
Okay. So our last question is more of a hypothetical one.
Yeah.
But it's very telling. So we're going to ask you.
Yes.
Let's say, Courtney, that you jump in a time machine.
Okay.
And you go back 20 years or more. And you have just 2 minutes to confront your younger self.
Yes.
What are you saying?
Have more fun. Learn as much as you can. And implement everything you do from your heart. And you'll reap back everything.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
And the real intent of that question is it's a parting gift.
Yes.
We want you to take that with you and stay true to that. So 20 years from now,
I love it.
So much more larger than you are, even in this moment.
Amen.
And we just can't
receive
wait
that.
What's on the horizon for you. So
thank you.
Again, folks, you heard it here first. Miss Courtney Pointer Lewis, making waves, doing big things. And we just want to thank you again for honoring us with your presence and your wisdom.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you also.
Absolutely. And to all our listeners out there, remember, every day is a gift. Hold your loved ones tight, make it count. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Stay safe.
Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to share this video and like, comment, and subscribe. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at NewYouWell. Until next time, stand tall in your power and remember, your belief in yourself is your superpower.